afternoon. My name is Donna Thiesel, and I'm your host of The Edge on IC Radio, your source for news and entertainment. You can find us on television, channel 182 on Charter Communications, as well as Abundant Television, found on Roku, Apple TV, and Amazon Fire. Thank you so much for watching. Oh, don't forget the podcast. You can go to netnewsnetwork.net. That's the three nets. So there you go. It's a good way to remember it. Brian Brown is with me today. And so, you know what? I have no clue what I'm doing. We are on 38 acres. I don't know what to do about landscaping.
Well, how much money you want to spend?
What free can you give me?
That's really what landscaping comes down to is what do you want to do with the area?
Mm-hmm.
You want to define that first, and then how much you want to spend. I mean, when I was working in landscaping, that was people would just say, I want a landscape, and we would ask them some questions, but they would never get us a number. So I always tell people, have an idea of what you want to spend, especially if you get help. If you hire a company to do a design for you, say, hey, I have $200 to spend, or I have $10,000, or
$200.
Yeah, I mean,
much.
but there's people. I mean, we used to do landscapes that were $250,000.
Mm-hmm.
Now that's not everybody that gets to do that, but man,
I bet that was a fun job.
It was so much fun. It was just like whatever we wanted to put in there. Yeah, okay, that's good. Looks good. It's like, yes, this is great. It's like Disney World. But
it gives you enough time to be creative too.
Yeah, absolutely. And if we showed them something, that we had a lot of clients like that because we were working on the lake, and a lot of people were, doing well for themselves, and they wanted to enjoy the lake and enjoy a nice landscape. So, money was not an object. So it's not an object for me if they want to give it to me.
That's true. Now, is that an art form? Are you an artist?
Yes.
Or can it turn into that?
It's both. It's art and science. And that is the actual definition of, landscape design is combining art and science. Mm-hmm. And that's what we do, because you have to have that artistic eye of where to place things. We do basic landscape design principles. So, color and form and structure and texture and things all these things. So it's a little more involved than your typical, art thing that you're going to do. Mm-hmm. Because when you're painting a picture, it's just kind of two-dimensional. When you have a plant, it's a living thing, and you've got to plan on, how big is it going to get? Mm-hmm. What environment is it in? How's it going to grow?
How the sunshine.
The sunshine. Microclimates. I mean, is it placed near an air conditioner, or is it placed near if your walls are white, it's going to be hotter and reflect that light. So, there's a lot of things to think about in landscape design. So it is the science of that, but it's also the art of knowing the textures and knowing the colors and kind of matching it up and like what's going to look good with this. And not only that, it goes even further. There's thousands and thousands and thousands of plants. What are you going to put?
Which one?
That's the hardest thing to decide is what are you going to plant in your yard? When I teach landscape design, that's one of the things I tell people is, first of all, you need to go to the nursery and see what they have, because you may open up your magazine and see all these beautiful.
Yeah, and it may say something that's even exotic to this area that wouldn't even live.
Exactly. So you really need to do your research on that and make sure that plant will grow in that area. You see if you can find it in the nursery. A lot of times a nursery, if you have a good relationship with them, they can order you pretty much any plant you want. If it's a smaller plant, you might want to buy a bunch of them. But they typically will buy for you if you just ask them really nicely. So they don't mind, if they can find it, they'll buy it. But finding it sometimes is the problem. So, that's just step one. When you want to do a design, you want to figure out, your function. So do you like to have people over? Do y'all have outdoor parties? Or, do you like solitude and you like to keep by yourself? Is there a view back behind your house or front of your house? Do you want to frame it up to gives it some curb appeal? Oh gosh, there's just a million questions you can ask in landscape design. And that's just step two.
Well, sometimes you're kind of going by somebody's personality. And
Yeah,
I'll
that's
use my
right.
daughter-in-law for an
Yeah.
example. So when she was looking for the wedding dress, she likes simple, elegant type stuff.
Absolutely.
Well, she has two sisters who like all of the bling and the whatever you can
Yeah.
bring in. That's what
Flashy.
they want.
Yeah.
And she's not into flashy, but simple elegance. And some people maybe want a zen feel.
Mhm.
You know, they want
Yeah.
to be able to go out and relax.
Yeah, absolutely. And there's different styles of gardens. We kind of break it up into natural or formal.
Mhm.
And so those are the two things we really, if somebody wants a naturalized look, we'll throw in some natives and we'll throw in something that's has a little bit of texture. We'll probably use a little bit more perennials than we do annuals, just because they kind of give a more natural looking
Mhm.
feel. So,
Mhm.
but yeah, there's different things you can do to give it a style. If you're going for that Zen type garden, you might want to look in the Japanese gardens and plant some plants and have some. There's some rules about that.
Mhm.
If you want something relaxing, usually moving water. You can put a little small waterfall. Even if your land is totally flat, you can build a small waterfall.
Well, I got plenty of rocks here. I could probably build
Yeah,
one.
yeah, and that's if you do have rocks, it's a great way to incorporate that, and you don't have to have a pond. I mean, we actually dug one at our greenhouses at Auburn. We did a pondless waterfall.
Oh.
So we dug a pit, maybe like 3 foot, 4 foot deep,
Mhm.
and we filled it in with rocks, and then we
Mhm.
just filled it up with water, and there was really not much fall to where we put it at, and we just took the dirt from the hole we dug and put it around the where the falls began, and we
Mhm.
kind of built it up around that, and then placed rocks all around it, and
Mhm.
it looked natural. So it was
Yeah.
really neat. But you don't have to, if you got pets or something like that, those are great for to keep them from getting in the water and
Uh-huh.
keep wildlife from coming in and trying to drink it and things like that. So
Like I probably
pondless.
wouldn't want like a small waterfall with fish in it because my cat would probably want to get
Yeah,
into it.
that's
Right?
right.
It's not
That's
with
right.
fish.
A raccoon or something. There's no
And, yeah,
telling
we
when they
got
get in
out
there.
a
So
deer or whatever can come and step inside it. Is there ever a time you talk with someone and they say, "Oh, I want to have bird of paradise," and we can't grow bird of paradise
Yeah.
here. It's all over
Yeah.
California. Everywhere you go, you see bird of paradise all over the place.
yeah.
You sometimes have to talk with people and say, "Well, it won't grow here."
Yes, and sometimes a good landscape designer might know, or typically, hopefully, they would know some alternatives. So if they
Yeah.
like bird of paradise, they can okay, that's kind of a funky looking plant. It's very angular. What kind of plant could be comparable to that? Maybe it's just the style they're looking for.
Mhm.
So we'll try to find a plant that looks similar to that, or something that may be an alternative, or just try to suggest something a little bit more appropriate for the area.
Yeah, because if it doesn't live, well, then,
Mhm.
it's somehow your fault.
Yeah,
Instead
yeah,
of the-
that's right. That's
Yeah,
right.
and then also it's just a general run-of-the-mill care of plants. You kind of have
Mhm.
to teach that to folks as well.
Yeah, absolutely. Typically, if you hire somebody,
Mhm.
a lot of times they'll have a 1 year guarantee on the plants.
Mhm.
I will, tell people that if you do hire a landscaper, make sure they're planting your plants correctly. There is a way to properly plant a plant, and that really involves taking the plant out of the pot and then just digging into it with your fingers and just breaking up
Mhm.
those roots as best you can.
I've
Honestly,
seen people just put the whole thing in there.
yeah, yeah, and you really, what we try to prescribe is, twice as big as dig your hole, twice as big as root ball. And
Mhm.
I tell people, don't dig a hole, dig a dish. So you want it kind of sloping sides. That
It
just
cradles it and protects it.
well, what it does is if you have straight, especially in Alabama soils, it's really heavy clay. You're basically putting it in a pot is what you're doing, and so that water doesn't
Mhm.
drain very well in this clay soils that we have here in North Alabama.
Mhm.
So it will drown. That plant will drown. So
Mhm.
if you have a heavy clay soil, what I usually typically tell people is plant it, a couple of inches above the grade or above the soil line.
Mhm.
So, dig your hole or dig a dish,
Mhm.
then put your little mound of dirt down below there break up the roots. You can take a knife and just score them. That's totally fine too, but break them up as much as you can. And then you can put it in your dish and plant it. And then that way it gives the roots a little bit of a head start. So, backfill with some organic matter and some of the native soil also, and you'll have success.
But native plants are key.
Well, excuse me. Native plants are great. There's a lot of plants that do really well here that doesn't have to be natives. It just really depends on kind of what you want to do. So natives are great for pollinators. They're good for natural, immunity, I guess you would call it, from a lot of diseases and things like that. But, they can get insects and things like that too. So
And there's some good insects, by the way.
There are great insects out there.
I'm not as afraid of insects now that I've taken the class.
Yeah. Well, there's some
Stomp them all out. But you gotta keep
typically the insects that we are concerned about, there's usually just a handful of them that just destroy everything. A lot of the butterfly species, let's say tomato hornworms. If you have tomato hornworms, the best thing to do is just take them and pick them off and stomp them. So
it's the only thing you can do, really.
Yeah, you can drown them in some vinegar or something like that. It's totally fine. But
I'm good with stomping.
If you got chickens, they love tomato hornworms. So if you get those, just pick them off and throw them to your chickens.
Yeah, they'll take them.
But there's aphids cause a lot of damage. Thrips, which is a little tiny insect, a little tiny flying insect, barely can see them. Army worms, gosh, we had a huge army worm outbreak here in Alabama a couple of years ago, and it was real bad. There really is just a handful of insects that we try to avoid, and I don't know how many, but there's probably 20 or 30 that's out of all of the millions of insects in the world. Those are the 20 or 30 that we focus on. So,
and there are also good snakes and bad snakes. They're all bad snakes to me, but anyway, there are some good.
No, there are. I'm not a fan of snakes. I don't like them.
I'm not into that
whatsoever. But there are good snakes, and there's a lot of good snakes that eat bad snakes. Yeah. So, I just don't want to be around them.
I'm not going to take the time to look and see if it has a pointed head or not.
Satan's hand puppet. Just I'm just going to avoid it if at all possible.
That's true. We've got to go into a commercial break.
Okay.
We'll be right back in just a minute. You hang in there. At Lamone's Mexican Restaurant, located in Henniger, Alabama, and voted Best Mexican Restaurant of DeKalb County, Alabama 2020, we're here to serve you with authentic Mexican cuisine. Order easily online by going to lamonsmex.com or call 256-657-3999 to place your order. We're open Sunday through Thursday, 11 a.m. to 9 p.m. and Friday and Saturday, 11 a.m. to 10 p.m. Whether you're celebrating a cozy date night for two or a celebration for a crowd, at Lamone's you'll love our atmosphere and friendly servers. Thank you for dining with Lamone's Mexican Restaurant.
Hello, I'm Mike Lindell, and my employees and I want to thank each and every one of you for your continued support. With everything going on right now, your rest is so important. That's why we're having the biggest MyPillow sale ever. Not only are my bed pillows as low as $19.98, but you can get the best body pillows ever. Regular $89.98, now only $29.98. Take your rest on the go with our Roll and Go Anywhere MyPillows for only $14.98. And we have our new couch and accent pillows. They aren't just for looks. They have MyPillow's patented adjustable fill that gives you that amazing MyPillow comfort. In this economy, you get the best gifts ever for the best prices ever. So go to MyPillow.com or call the number on your screen. Use your promo code and you get deep discounts on body, couch, bolster pillows, and so much more, including my original bed pillows for as low as $19.98. Please order now while quantities last.
Let Rhonda at Rhonda's Elite Tax LLC take the burden off you for all your tax needs. I know because Rhonda has been taking care of my business since 2013. I feel Rhonda works for me because she knows the direct questions to ask to better benefit my unique business in order for me to get back the biggest refund possible. Rhonda is an ongoing student, and she knows tax laws are in a constant change every year. Call 256-281-9903 for an appointment to take the dread out of getting your taxes done. Rhonda is located at 11968 U.S. Highway 431 in Boaz. Again, that number is 256-281-9903. And let Rhonda's Elite Tax LLC champion your personal and business taxes. At Liberty Bank, we're all about community, whether it's to help with a charity fundraiser or help families in need. Toys at Christmas or a local football team, we're here for you. You see, we realize the importance of family. Sometimes it's to build a new home or necessary home repairs. We're here for you. If you like the feel of a small town bank with all the conveniences of a big city bank, we're here to serve you. You will find us at any of our convenient locations in DeKalb, Marshall, Etowah, and Blount counties in North Alabama. You can call and speak with any of our friendly staff at 256-659-2175 or check us out on the web at libertybankal.com. And thank you for your support of our community. Member FDIC Equal Housing Lender. The Hatter Cafe and Country Inn is nestled in the northeast corner of Alabama the Beautiful in the delightful town of Mentone. We're located on top of scenic Lookout Mountain near Little River and DeSoto State Park and located only 5 minutes from shopping and restaurants. There is also a nearby community walking path and golf course. We welcome everyone through the doors and we are committed to outstanding service for all guests. At the Hatter Cafe and Country Inn, we invite people from all walks of life to come and get away from it all, enjoy the open spaces, treetop views, fresh, clean air, and experience Southern hospitality at its finest. We look forward to hosting you. To reserve a special event, or if you would love a special getaway at the Country Inn, you can call us at 256-634-2018.
Okay, we are back. My name is Donna Feazell, and I'm your host of The Edge on IC Radio, your source for news and entertainment. You can also find us on television, channel 182 on Charter Communications, Abundant Television, which is syndicated worldwide, Roku, Apple TV, and Amazon Fire. You know, the world is a whole lot smaller, and it's a pretty big world out there, but it's also smaller because you can also find us on NetNewsNetwork.net. That's our podcast. So we appreciate you watching us any way you want to. Oh, we still also do, all the social media stuff too. You couldn't get away from Brian and me if you tried. So watch us anyway. It's just whatever's more convenient for you. Brian Brown is with us right now. Brian, it's so interesting to hear about landscaping.
Yeah.
And the things I've probably been doing wrong. You got to make sure you don't plant some big something in the way of the sunshine coming into a smaller little plant.
Yeah, that's right. And we'll get to pruning in a second, but you typically want to plant your larger plants behind the smaller plants. I see a lot of times, Laura Pedlum or Chinese Fringe Flower. A lot of people will plant those behind or in front of a tiny shrub like a boxwood or something like that. Mm-hmm. And then all of a sudden that Laura Pedlum is 15 foot tall and it's overgrown. Well, you can't see your boxwood anymore. So make sure to reverse that and put your taller plants next to a wall, things like that. And the reason why we do that is we want to use larger plants towards the wall of a house or a building or something, because what that does is that steps it down to human size, so it's called scale. Mm-hmm. So we scale that down. We'll start with a larger plant and then we'll step it down to a little bit smaller plant. So let's say, a typical house is, maybe 12 feet from ground to the soffits. Mm-hmm. Well, you want to put something there that's maybe 8 foot tall. And then the next one down, you might want to go 4 foot tall.
Mhm.
And then you come on down to, maybe some annuals and perennials that are, 8 to 12 inches. So, we want to step that down, and it just kind of looks good. That's just kind of the accepted standard of landscaping. So, there's a people who don't play by the rules, and that's fine. That's what landscaping is all about. Horticulture is about creativity, experimenting. I tell people all the time, you're not going to learn anything unless you get out there and get your hands dirty and, teach yourself. So there's some things you can learn, but experiment, try something new.
I got your book on what not to do, Brian.
Yeah.
Yeah. So what do you do about, being close to the house, but do you have to really be careful about the roots of something?
Some plants.
When it goes close to your house, it could disrupt your foundation, couldn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. Typically it depends on the plant, really, is how far away from the foundation you want to be. Some of the larger shrubs and hollies, we want to give it a few feet away from it. So it just depends on the plant. So make sure you talk to somebody, your landscaper, talk to one of us extension agents, and we can kind of give you some advice on how far away from the make sure to give it plenty of room. That's
and
really
I probably
the biggest
wouldn't
thing.
want to put an elm tree or something
No,
right
No,
right at my house.
No, and that's fine. And elm trees are actually they actually would do pretty well next to a house. But
would they?
yeah, it'd be they're not a some of them are small, some of them are big. But like an oak tree, you don't want to put an oak tree next
How
to your
about a
house.
silver maple?
Silver maple needs to go in the trash. So,
No, it doesn't. Let me tell you why. When I was a kid, I was a big tomboy. So there was a silver maple right by my window. Instead of going out the door, my parents would get on me about doing this. But anyway, I would take the screens off and climb on the silver maple and climb down the tree.
yeah.
I can't believe I didn't break my neck.
Well, there's a lot of things we did back in the
That
day
was
that
dumb.
I wonder how we're still alive. But silver maples, the two trees that are one of my most hated are silver maples and water oaks, and those are the ones that people leave in their yard all the time. And the reason why I don't like them is water oaks, as they get old, they drop limbs like crazy. Especially they get up in the 20-30-year-old range. They just all the time, and it's not small limbs either, it's big limbs that they drop, and it's just a natural part of their process.
Park your car under it.
Yes, do not park your car under any tree, period, for multiple reasons. For
Let's
limbs
talk
falling.
about that, because I pass by and I see cars parked under trees all the time.
I love for my car to be cool when I get in, but that's why God made garages.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, parking under a tree is very detrimental. I get a lot of calls about that. My tree's dying. Why is it dying? It's because you're parking your car under it. And the reason why that's bad is because tree roots are typically, most of the feeder roots are within 6 or 8 inches of the soil from the top of the soil line. So if you park like my truck, I don't know how much it weighs. It probably weighs a couple of tons. When you pull the couple of tons on there, especially every day, you compress that root. Well, then your tree dies of drought because it can't uptake any water anymore. So I see that all the time. So don't park your car under any tree.
I've also seen, now that I've taken this class, I notice more things than I did before.
Yeah.
And so I'll pass by somebody's yard, and I noticed that this guy had a pickup truck parked at his tree, and the other side of the tree looks better than that side. Is that why that's apparently his parking spot?
Yeah. That's a tree can live with 1/3 of its roots. Now, when I say live, I didn't say thrive. It can live.
You don't want it hanging on for life.
That's right. So it can take up water and nutrients from one side of the tree, but the other side can die off. So that can definitely happen. And there's some diseases that will show that type of symptoms also. So especially in sugar maples. So but yeah, there's especially if you're doing new construction, if you want to save a tree, you need to mark it off 1.5 times the canopy size. So that's a lot. But if you want to save that tree, that is the only way that you can save that tree, because anybody that builds houses wants to park under that tree. So if you want to save it, you better put you some fencing around it, do something to keep them from parking under that tree canopy.
Well, let's talk about a simple process. So let's just pretend someone has just bought an acre of land. They've had a house built on it.
Yeah.
And so there's nothing out there, absolutely nothing. But before they hire you or someone to help with their landscaping, they just want to plant a couple of trees.
Yeah.
What couple of trees would you suggest?
If you want shade, I would say an oak. I love Shumard oaks. They're great. They have beautiful, this beautiful fall color. But yeah, they're a
But you
good
have to
solid
think
tree.
about the 4 seasons and what they're going to look
Yeah,
like.
yeah, and that's another thing. There's some kind of interest throughout the whole scenario. You got fall, winter, summer, spring. It's going to be there's going to be some level of interest with, even if it doesn't have any leaves, it has texture. So yeah,
No mimosa trees.
no.
Okay, let me tell you what happened there. Okay, I've been a gardener apparently all my entire life. So there were mimosa trees where I grew up, Cheaha Acres number 2.
Mhm.
Rick Burgess grew up in Cheaha Acres number
Yeah.
1 in Oxford. Well, I got number 2. I'm on the other side of the tracks. So Dad was getting rid of, he hated the mimosa trees. He
Mhm.
said, I hate these things. So he just whacked them down and put something else in their place. Dug up roots. I thought he would never finish digging up roots. Well, I liked them because they were good like seesaw. I mean,
Yeah.
they were good and flexible for kids. So I got one of the limbs and I said, I'm going to plant it. And he goes, okay. He didn't think that it would live. It lived.
Mhm.
I don't know what I did to it. I took really good care. I don't know how I rooted it. I mean, it's something that I was just a little kid, like 8 years old or whatever.
Yeah.
Be careful what you let your kids do because it will turn into a tree.
Yeah, so I love Shumard oaks. I think if you're further north in North Alabama, or in Tennessee, or you go further north, sugar maples are great trees. They're beautiful fall color. Cherries. I love cherries. They're one of my favorite trees out there. There's
They're
one
beautiful.
called the Prunus exotiensis somii Yoshino.
I'm not even going to try to go after that.
It's a Yoshino cherry. So the cherries that you
There
see.
you go. In the little jars that like really pretty.
No. These are non-edible cherries. So these are
Oh.
ornamental cherries.
Oh, okay.
So if you want a large, low-growing tree, a Yoshino cherry, those are the ones they see in Washington, D.C. Those are Yoshinos.
Oh, yeah.
There's a, what's the other cherry tree called? I can't even think of what it's called. My mind's going blank today.
They got pretty blooms. And
Beautiful bloom. So, that's a great alternative to Bradford pear, which those are the spawn of Satan. Cut them down. They are really bad. They're very, very bad. You do need to cut them down because they're invasive.
Oh.
So they actually will seed, and that's what you see and they actually make thorns. So like really big thorns. So
Anything that's thorn, I don't want.
yeah.
either.
So that's
We got to call it a day.
yeah.
Brian, thank you so much for being on the show today. It's always so informative. And I encourage you, if you would like to take Master Gardener classes, how should folks get started?
Yeah, so we're gonna do Etowah County this fall. It will be in Gadsden, Alabama. So if you're in that area, we're gonna have the class there in Gadsden. They can register starting in June, and we'll have more information coming out soon about that. But we'll online registration, and you can register in June. You just look on the Etowah County Facebook page. And
Absolutely. And I highly encourage you to do so. I've had so much fun taking these classes. Thank you again, Brian.
Yep.
And thank you for watching. We'll see you in just a few minutes with another awesome guest.